speaking today with Dr. Michael Humer, the independent candidate in the riding of Kelowna Centre, the former BC United candidate. A job interview, in a sense, must take you back to your days coming out of residency and applying for a job. You basically are applying for a job for 40,000, 50,000 people within the Kelowna Centre area.
That's a nice way to look at it, Wayne. I started practice in '95, and that job interview I went up to provide thoracic surgery in Prince George. That actually was during an NDP era as well. Mm-hmm. And the first question they said is, why are you going there? Because we don't have a thoracic surgeon. And I said, exactly. So I was providing services to an underserviced area. So now this new job interview, wow, democracy has just been fascinating. And they say that BC politics are quite something, and it certainly is. So I retired from 28 years of thoracic surgery, last 21 years at KGH. I retired in September a year ago. And specifically, I retired from being chief of surgery to address healthcare and to look at getting better healthcare in British Columbia and running in the new Kelowna Centre riding. So as you say, I got the nomination and I was running for BC United, former BC Liberal, previous government under Gordon Campbell and Christy Clark until 2017. And we were running a good campaign, effective campaign, out listening to doors. We were at 4,900 doors over 6+ months, hearing the issues. Not just a healthcare guy, hearing lots about healthcare, but lots about other issues as well. And then August 28th happened. And the thought was that there was supposed to be a coalition. Because as you know, the only way we've defeated the NDP since 1941 has been to get a centre-right coalition. Whether it's SOCRED, Social Credit, BC Liberal, that's how we did it. The assumption was, and I think everyone took a little bit of a breath back and said, oh, here's the path to defeat the NDP. Well, unfortunately, we didn't get a coalition. So the question is whether that is the path to defeat the NDP. So here we are as I continue as an unaffiliated independent candidate, trying to make sure everyone has voice and there's somewhere for everyone to vote for.
So as a former surgeon, physician, how do you get across to the people that you speak to that you're more than just a one-issue candidate, so to speak?
Well, it's interesting if you break down what a surgeon is first and foremost. The cutting is the last thing we do. Using the scalpel or intervening is the last thing we do. What we do first is listen, get the history. So we get the history, we listen to the person, and as I say, when we go to the doors, listen to people, see what's on their mind, and again, when we take the history, take the data, and then make a decision, and then act. And there's so many beautiful things about being a surgeon is you listen, take the information, act, and then you have the ultimate accountability, don't you? And it's really transparent and we know what the outcomes are. So in many, many ways, having a healthcare degree background, and specifically a surgeon, is ideally meant for this. I'm not a career politician, right? I'm a career 28-year thoracic surgeon who's using the political avenue as the route to try to advance better healthcare and other issues throughout Kelowna Centre, but also throughout the entire province.
So as you knock on doors, and as you take in that feedback, what are you listening to? What are you hearing?
We're hearing the same things that you're likely hearing, and sometimes it gets repetitive, but that's what actually people are talking about. So affordability, cost of living, public safety, addictions, mental health, and healthcare. If you look at affordability and cost of living, there's a devastated or discouraged population out there because the cost of living is a challenge. And it's a challenge at people at lower incomes, so often our younger people, and often our elderly, our seniors. So absolutely, the cost of living. And nothing else really matters if you can't afford to live, and if you can't get work that can make it so that you can live in your community. So hearing lots about that. Surprisingly, a lot about public safety. And, I thought, well, okay, public safety is an issue that people in the urban part of this riding are going to care about. It's a fascinating riding, Kelowna Centre. Mm-hmm. It's a tiny little blip on the riding map because it's so concentrated. I think it's 6 by 12 kilometers. It's the only new riding outside the Lower Mainland, and what does that speak to? It speaks to the population growth. So it's interesting, public safety is not only an issue downtown and in our downtown core, but also in our suburban areas. People are still worried about public safety. And so it's a big issue. And then also mental health and addictions. And we're very near here at the studio where we see that on a daily basis. I live just on the other side of Harvey. We walk downtown regularly and we get to see the suffering on a daily basis. And I guess I know that we can do better. We can do better in Kelowna, we can do better in British Columbia, we can do better with how the people that are suffering, how it goes with them. And again, absolutely I believe we need recovery, we need treatment, we need the best housing possible. I would also challenge us to put efforts into prevention. If we can go upstream, if we have universal access to primary care and all of that, that we can do a lot of work in preventing mental health challenges, addiction challenges, so that we're not treating them once they become a disease that requires a surgical intervention, but that we can be trying to prevent them.
Since the writ was dropped 2.5 weeks ago now, you've heard the NDP, you've heard the BC Conservatives lay out their vision, their platforms. As an independent candidate, you don't have a party to pull from, so what is Michael Humer's platform for solving some of these issues you're hearing about?
So I've obviously been focused on platforms, first BC United, and then what the NDP were saying, and then what the BC Conservatives were saying. A couple things about platforms. I sometimes wonder whether you shouldn't be able to release anything during the writ period, and because everything comes out with gifts with no costs attached. So I'm hearing the NDP all of a sudden, they've changed their views on decriminalization. They've changed their views on involuntary care. And then the BC Conservatives are coming out with things with their platform that aren't even fully costed. I was struck by the fact that all of a sudden we were guaranteed another bridge out of the blue. And I would say, where was the local consultation? I know we've done significant studies on traffic congestion and traffic flow. And to me, that's the problem we need to be solving. Maybe we need a new bridge, maybe we don't. But I think for us to be bought off with political things from both sides is problematic. So it's interesting as the unaffiliated independent. You say, where do I get my platform from? I don't have to be married to the NDP platform. I don't have to be married to the BC Conservative platform. I would say I get my platform from the constituents. So they actually have authentic local representation. And it's ironic because Kelowna, as you know, has such a history in free enterprise and in democratic thought. The leadership. This right here, this space has been represented by, I think, three premiers. W.A.C. Bennett would have represented this space. Bill Bennett would have represented the space. And in fact, when Christy Clark was the premier, this projection of the riding came over on this side. So Kelowna has always had that ability, and now it's a slightly unique because we thought there was going to be a coalition of forces and there wasn't. Not that we didn't try, but there wasn't an authentic coalition. So therefore, a lot of people were sitting in the middle saying, where am I going to cast my vote? So this is a unique election where the independent vote is not a waste vote. It's not even a protest vote necessarily. What it is, if the magic number is 93, and we used to hear from the people, we need to stop the NDP from getting a majority. We need to stop them from getting a majority of 47. But I would also say that the Rustad Conservatives have minimal experience in their ranks in terms of governing. I would say they don't represent the majority of the vote of the province. And so they shouldn't get to 47. Well, how do you stop either from getting to a majority? You elect on a riding by riding, make decisions. If you can get well vetted people who ran for legacy parties, get the best candidate. And then they can be the voice of moderation and reason. And that's why I'm continuing to run because of significant urging and because I know it's the right thing to do.
Somebody, though, has to run the province. Somebody has to be premier. So if it is 46, 45, or whatever the case may be, and you're the guy, is it John Rustad or is it David Eby?
I have to think that the NDP have led us in the wrong direction, and we need to change from that. So I absolutely believe that it could be John Rustad, but he does not deserve a 4-year mandate. And if we go back, Wayne, from one extreme to another extreme, back and forth with no middle, so the unique opportunities, I don't think either deserves a 4-year unlimited mandate. I would favor that I am fiscally responsible, I'm fiscally conservative. I'm socially responsible, and I would hope to bring moderation into that voice, but absolutely we cannot have another 4 years of the NDP.
Dr. Humer, I want to give you an opportunity, as I do with all the candidates, to look into the camera, talk to your constituents in Kelowna Centre, and give them your best pitch as to why they should put a little check mark beside your name on October 19th.
I am Dr. Michael Humer. My first pitch will be get informed. Look at the issues and look at them as many ways as you can. And then Kelowna Centre is a new riding. It's a geographically new riding right in the center of Kelowna. And I would say that I ran as a socially moderate, fiscally responsible conservative candidate, was willing to join the collective center-right coalition if asked. And I would think that Kelowna was significantly disadvantaged, and decisions up and down the valley were made in Vancouver, Victoria, and Prince George to exclude those candidates. And this is what I will do. I will represent you. And the most important thing, I think, in representation is to be there, to be available. So I'll do interviews, I'll go to debates, I'll go visit people. Because if someone won't show up to a debate, how can we, before an election, how can we expect them to represent you after an election? So I will continue to represent you, and the challenge in this election is for Kelowna to say, hey, we don't believe in engineered outcomes by non-elected backroom people. Kelowna should get its voice, and I can be the voice that doesn't represent one ideology or another ideology. I represent the ideology that you believe in. So get informed, please vote, and please consider me on October 19th in Kelowna Centre. Thank you very much, Wayne, for your time today.
And thank you, Dr. Michael Humer, Kelowna Centre, independent candidate. Good luck.